Maya Carter adjusted the simple, elegant line of her midnight blue dress. Tonight wasn't about standing out. It was about observing. As the CEO of Carter Global Holdings, she was on the verge of closing a monumental $900 million deal with the Sinclair family, a name synonymous with old money and, as she was about to discover, older prejudices. The gala was a sea of glittering diamonds and the rustling silk, a world away from the spreadsheets and the boardrooms where Maya had built her empire from the ground up. She moved through the crowd, a shadow in a room full of peacocks, her presence deliberately understated. She found a quiet corner near a towering floral arrangement, nursing a glass of sparkling water, when a voice, sharp and condescending, chewed through the ambient chatter. "You, sir, another glass of champagne." Andy be quick about it. It was Mrs. Sinclair, matriarch of the family, her face a mask of entitlement. Her husband, Mr. Sinclair, stood beside her, his gaze dismissive as he sized up Maya's simple attire. Their son, William, the ferryman Maya had spent weeks negotiating with, smirked. "Mazer, you don't think she's on the staff?" He sighed, though his tone suggested he found the mistake amusing. Mrs. Sinclair scoffed. "Nonsense. Look at her. Clearly, she's here to serve." She snapped her fingers, a sound that cracked like a whip in the opulent ballroom. He sighed, "Champagne." Maya met her gaze, a deep, unreadable calm settling in her eyes. She said nothing. She simply stood, her silence a stark contrast to the woman's shrill demands. This was a test, she realized, not of her patience, but of their character. And they were failing spectacularly. The Sinclairs, emboldened by her silence, grew more audacious. "Mr. Sinclair chimed in, "The service here is appalling. When we're partners, William, you'll have to speak to the management." He gestured vaguely at Maya. "This one doesn't seem to understand English." The humiliation was a physical thing, a heavy cloak they tried to drape over her shoulders. Still, Maya remained silent. She held their gazes, her stillness a mirror reflecting their own ugliness but at them. She watched William, the supposed visionary who wanted to partner with her company, say nothing to correct his parents. His complicity was the most damning indictment of all. The scene began to draw attention. A young black waiter, balancing a tray of drinks, paused, his expression a mixture of anger and helplessness. He knew what was happening. He'd likely lived a version of it 100 times. Across the room, a woman in a stunning emerald satin dress, who had been chatting with a group of investors, turned, her brow furrowed in disapproval. The Sinclairs, however, were lost in their own performance. As if to punctuate her point, Mrs. Sinclair, with a careless flick of her wrist, accidentally slashed her champagne. The cold, bubbly liquid soaked the front of Maya's dress. A collective gasp rippled through the onlookers. "Oh, clumsy me, Mrs. Sinclair sighed, her apology dripping with insincerity. "You should be more careful where you stand." That was the breaking point, not for Maya, but for the room. The young waiter stepped forward. "Ma'am, she's not a waitress." He sighed, his voice firm despite his youth. "She's a guest, just like you." The woman in the emerald dress glided over, her presence commanding. "I believe you owe this lady an apology," she sighed, her voice cool and clear. "Your behavior is disgraceful." The Sinclairs looked flustered, their bubble of privilege momentarily pierced. They weren't used to being challenged. "Who do you think you are, Mrs. Sinclair sputtered, turning her eye on the newcomers. It was then that Maya finally moved. She placed her water glass on a pacing tray, the clink of glass on silver echoing in the sudden quiet. She straightened to her full height, the simple dress now seeming less like a disguise and more like a statement. All the quiet observation in her eyes now sharpened into a laser focus. She looked directly at William Sinclair, then at his parents. The entire ballroom seemed to hold its breath. "Yeah, Maya Carter," she sighed. Her voice was not loud, but it carried the weight of 1,000 boardrooms, of a billion-dollar empire built on intellect and integrity. The name dropped into the room like a stone into a steel pan. Carter Global Holdings. Recognition dawned on faces across the hall. Whispers turned into a stunned silence. The Sinclairs' faces went from smug to confused to horrified in a matter of seconds. William looked as though he'd been struck by lightning. "And you," Maya continued, her gaze pinning William in place, "are the people he was considering entrusting with a $900 million partnership." She let the number hang in the air. A phantom fortune. Was. She repeated, emphasizing the past tense. Her assistant, a sharp young woman named Sarah who had been watching from the edge of the crowd, stepped forward, tablet in hand. Mr. Sinclair, Sarah sighed, her voice crisp and professional. I've just been instructed to terminate all negotiations regarding the acquisition. The deal is off, effective immediately. I'm forwarding the official notice to your legal team now, and the press release is being drafted. The color drained from Mr. Sinclair's face. Mrs. Sinclair's mouth opened and closed like a fish. You can't do that, she shrieked, her composure finally shattering. This is a misunderstanding. Maya gave a small, humorless smile. No more, she sighed calmly. It's a clarification. For weeks, you've seen my company's numbers, my projections, my strategies. You've courted my business. But tonight, you wanted to see you. Not the negotiators, not the heirs, but the people. And you've shown me. She gestured to her champagne-soaked dress. You are so comfortable in your prejudice that you would humiliate a black woman in a simple dress because you assume she is here to serve you. You didn't see a potential partner. You saw a servant. She looked around the room, her gaze sweeping over the shocked faces. My business is built on partnership, on respect, on seeing value where others don't. How can you partner with people who are so blinded by hate they can't even see who is standing right in front of them? This isn't about my feelings. It's about your liability. Your character is a risk I am not willing to take. The ballroom, which had been silent, erupted. It started with a single clap from the woman in the emerald dress, then another from the young waiter, and suddenly the entire room was filled with applause. It was a standing ovation, not for a performance, but for a powerful display of dignity and justice. The applause was a verdict, and the Sinclairs were the condemned. They stood frozen, their faces pallid with public humiliation and the dawning horror of their financial ruin. They had tried to make Maya small, and in doing so, had exposed their own insignificance. With a final, brief nod, Maya Carter turned and walked away. She didn't look back. Sarah fell into step beside her as they moved towards the grand exit. The applause followed them, a wave of support and admiration. Maya left the Sinclairs to drown in the consequences of their own actions, a family ruined not by a market crash or a bad investment, but by the ugliness in their own hearts. She had proven that true power isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's a quiet, patient silence, counting down the seconds until accountability arrives. As the cool tire hit her face, Maya took a deep breath. She hadn't raised her voice, but she had been heard loud and clear. And that was a victory worth more than any $900 million deal. Thank you so much for watching the story of strength and the quiet power. If you were inspired by Maya's journey, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that matter. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.